I have been playing Battle Cats for almost 9 years, and in that time I've spent thousands and thousands of dollars in order to unlock some of the rarest cats in the game, which obviously puts me at a bit of an advantage over the average player. That's why I decided to challenge myself to beat Battle Cats without any rare cats. No rares, no super rares, no uber rares, and definitely no legend rares. There are over 600 cats to collect in Battle Cats, and because of this challenge, I was limited to at most 23 cats in my collection. Here's what happened. In case you didn't know, Battle Cats is a game about cats trying to take over the world. I don't know why they're trying to take over the world, but apparently the world is really bad at fighting back because the cats are so cute. So you start off by going to Korea, and then you fight through various locations as you take over the world. Honestly, the hardest part about starting the game is getting through all the tutorials. There's a lot of information. It's kind of overwhelming, but basically you just click the cats and you try and win. Now, as for this cat cannon tutorial, I find it kind of weird because there's just no range on this thing. It does nothing. Eventually, I got through the first stage and I unlocked some superior kimchi. After that, you unlock the treasure menu, the item shop, catnip challenges, some cat food, and your first cat ticket. Now, for the sake of this video, I did decide to buy the Uber startup pack, but I wouldn't really recommend it. It's quite expensive, you get a bunch of cat food, and I just wanted to use it for speed ups. After that, I unlocked my second cat, Tank Cat, which is a higher health but lower damage version of the original cat. And as you can see, there's a whole bunch of different upgrades you can also get that'll help you out in the game. I got a couple of these, and then I unlocked Cat God. I also grabbed a bunch of speed ups because honestly, I'm super impatient. After that, I went to Mongolia and got a tutorial on how to use Cat God. Now, Cat God has a bunch of things he can do, but they all cost cat food, which is kind of cost prohibitive. But they do give you a baby boom for free, so I went and used that. And to be honest, I'd use it more if it wasn't so dang expensive, because it allows you to do this. I think that might have been a little bit of overkill for Mongolia. Then I went to China and basically just pressed the cat button every time it lit up until I won. Beating this stage unlocks the third normal cat in the game, Axe Cat. So I grabbed a few more upgrades before continuing, including a couple of upgrades on my basic cat, which completed a mission and gave me 20 more cat food. Then I used my Axe Cat to beat Thailand, which gave me a little bit of XP as a reward. I repeated the same process in Cambodia and then the Philippines, and after that I unlocked my fourth cat. Ninja Cat is the first special cat you get in the game if you don't include Cat God, and I bought him for 50 cat food. From there, you get access to the equip menu, which I used to add Ninja Cat to my loadout, and then I went to Japan, where you fight your first boss. Now, it's just a single traitless hippo, but it did give me a run for my money, and there was a point where I thought I was gonna lose, but I did end up beating it. Then you unlock the Cat Seeker, the Capsule Machine, user rank rewards, Cat Claw Dojo, Officers Club, and Meow Medals. You also get a cat ticket, and a rare ticket, and some XP, and a daily login bonus. Now for this challenge, I did allow myself to use my rare tickets, but I did make it illegal to actually use the cats you get from them. So instead I had to exchange everything I get for XP, which is a good boost. And then I used the starter special for 30 cat food to get another cat and exchange that for XP as well. Then I rolled my 2 regular cat tickets. The first thing I got was Fish Cat, which unlocks Fish Cat for the first time. And then I got a +1 for my cat cannon attack power. Then I used all the XP I just got to upgrade a whole bunch of stuff, including getting 4 of my cats to level 10 to evolve them to their second form. Then I put my new cats in and I went to Australia. Now the game opens up a lot more at this point, obviously, and from here I decided to use mostly Wall Cat and Sexy Legs Cat. Wall Cat protects Sexy Legs, and Sexy Legs has a great range so that it doesn't take a lot of damage. After I beat Singapore, I got access to another special cat, Sumo Cat, who I bought right away for 150 cat food, leveled it up to level 10 to make it Madam Sumo, got my user rank reward, which was 1 ticket, rolled that ticket and got Swimmer Cat, exchanged it for XP, got Cow Cat. I immediately upgraded that to level 10 because I knew I was going to be using Giraffe Cat a lot. I also evolved Fish Cat into Whale Cat and got some more upgrades. At this point, I wanted to just use Giraffe Cat because it's a really great way to speedrun levels. And even though I ran into a red pig, it really wasn't that big of a deal. Beat the stage pretty quickly and then got a leadership as a reward. Then I did the same thing in India, which gave me 20 cat food. After that, I went to Nepal and I used my anti-red Whale Cat to help out with the next red pig. Beating Nepal gives you a rare ticket and it gives you 5 speed ups. Plus you unlock Samurai Cat, which I bought for cat food and upgraded to Night Cat. Then I rolled another ticket, got Welterweight, and said goodbye to him. In Dubai, you have to fight some Jackie Pangs, but it's really not that big of a deal. There's not really that much strategy you need to worry about in the beginning. You just gotta press the buttons, which I did again and again, and then I unlocked the encyclopedia. What's great about that is every time you unlock a new cat, you get 5 cat food, which is just a nice way to get a little bit of your cat food back again. At this point, I had to use a leadership to get my energy back, and then I just went right back to destroying every stage I went to. Once you beat Madagascar, you unlock Zombie Cat, who I bought for 120 cat food and leveled up until he evolved into Devil Cat. Then, when I beat South Africa, I unlocked another rare ticket, which gave me Swordsman Cat, who then became XP. Sahara is an interesting stage because it sends out a whole bunch of those guys, and to be honest, it really made me wish I had more area attackers because that was something I was definitely lacking in. But then I unlocked Cats in a Box, which I immediately evolved into Cat Gang, which is definitely one of the best cats for this challenge. I didn't really care about Ninja Cat, so I replaced him with Cat Gang, and I also unlocked Bird Cat and Lizard Cat. I evolved Bird Cat into UFO Cat, and then I got my rank 200 reward, which was 5 speed ups and a leadership. In Greece, you run into your first red seal of the game, and it maybe would have been a problem if I didn't have a whole bunch of whale cats with me. Beating this one unlocks Gamma Toto and Bean Cats. So I switched out a couple of units and put in UFO Cat and Bean Cats. Now because UFO has area attack, it's pretty useful in later levels, plus it has enough range that it gets protected by meat shields. After beating Italy, I unlocked Boogie Cat and bought it for 90 cat food. Eventually I started using Cat Gang, and man is this a great cat. It's so fast and it's got an area attack, so it makes really short work of levels, plus it's one of the best counters to the elephant, because there's so many peons in front of that elephant, but these guys can rush in and do a ton of damage. From there, I unlocked Bondage Cat, bought it, evolved it at level 10, and replaced Bean Cats in my loadout. I honestly don't really love Bondage Cat, but it does tank red enemies pretty well, so it's kind of useful in some stages, especially if you pair it with some anti-red attackers. This was a pretty good level for it though, because that red seal can be pretty mean. Now what's to go to having a Bondage Cat if you don't have a Dom Cat, right? So I unlocked her, and I evolved her into Executioner, which is a pretty nice anti-red unit. I also finally decided to reorganize my cats based on price because I'm just like that. Executioner is not only fun to watch, but it also has a pretty fast attack, which is pretty useful. Beating Canada gave me some XP and some XP ups. And then I went to New York, where things got a little bit dicey. There's several red seals in this level, and this was the closest I came to actually losing a stage. Not that that would have been the end of the world, but I'm glad it didn't happen. At this point, my cats are feeling pretty powerful. I'm beating lots of stages, I'm getting lots of rewards, and I even unlocked another new cat, but this is the first one I didn't buy because I was almost out of cat food. Brazil is the next stage that's kind of difficult because it has a Muth in it, and it has lots of peons backing it up, but I did find that Cat Gang was pretty darn useful here. Beating Argentina gave me 50 cat food, a leadership, and then another 20 cat food. Then I spent a bunch of it on speed ups. Once you get to Machu Picchu, things start getting actually difficult. There's a lot of enemies in here. They push you super hard, but even so, as long as you press all the buttons, you're good. On Easter Island, you get introduced to One Horn, which is a very strong red enemy. It just rips through all your units, so you just gotta put lots of meat shields out and lots of anti-red attackers. You get another one when you hit the base too. Great. Then in Mexico, you get an elephant backed up by a whole bunch of gorillas and kangaroos and penguins, which is kind of annoying, but honestly, if you just use a bunch of meat shields and a bunch of strong attackers, eventually everything will die. At some point, I used another rare ticket to unlock Stilts Cat, and you know what happened to him. I also unlocked Titan Cat, which is the last basic cat, and the game told me to do something I was already doing, and then I did it again. Friendship ended with Bondage Cat, now Mythical Titan is my best friend. NASA has a whole bunch of really strong red enemies, and for a moment I panicked and I was gonna use Cat God to help me out, but then I was like, nah, I'm not doing that, and right after that everything died. Crisis averted. One of the strongest enemies debuts in Las Vegas, and that's Teacher Bear. It has a really long range area attack, plus it's backed up by a bunch of peons, so it's hard to actually get in there and do damage to it. But this is another moment where I was really happy that I had Cat Gang, because Cat Gang has the speed to actually get in there, close the gap, and hurt them. Alaska's an interesting stage because of the squirrel spam, but a single area attack will take out most, if not all, of these guys. Then you have to get through 2 bears and a Muth. This was one of those stages where I thought that I was going to lose, but I think the cat cannon ended up saving me on this one. I got a cat ticket plus 5 treasure radars for beating this one, and then I used my cat ticket to unlock a +1 on my giraffe cat. Hawaii has another elephant, but just look at how fast the elephant dies when you have a whole bunch of cat gangs. I got some XP for beating that, and then it was time for me to face my first moon. This one has 6 enemies in it. It's a floating head backed up by a few different units, but honestly, there's nothing too crazy in here besides for the floating head, so all you really have to do is just take your time, maybe level up the wallet a little bit, and then send out some powerful cats. If you do this, eventually the face will die. The hardest backup he has is a kangaroo, but it also gives you a bunch of money when you beat it. This level took a long time, but the floating head doesn't move that much because of his range, so eventually I was able to take him out, and that is how I beat Chapter 1 of Empire of Cats. Then the game gives you this credit sequence where the guy talks about how the battle cats took over the world and a cat applied for a job but he didn't get it, and the guy thinks that cats are lucky. Thank you, battle cats. The end. This unlocks Chapter 2, Stories of Legend, Into the Future, more battle formations, cat combos, Moniko, Ototo Core, Cataman stages, and improved navigation. Then I went back to every level that I didn't have a treasure in and at least got the bronze treasure in that level. This activates a whole bunch of useful treasure effects that you're absolutely gonna need if you want to get all the way to the end of Chapter 3. Because I had access to the Officers Club, I wanted to buy the gold pass so I could get unlimited speed ups, but the first month is actually free. The problem is, they don't give you unlimited speed ups until you pay money to renew it for your second month. And that was the only thing I wanted it for, so I was kinda bummed. But at least when I got my login rewards, I got an extra 30 cat food for being in the club. I had 3 tickets at this point, and I got +1s for Study, Titan Cat, and Tank Cat. Then I used 5 rare tickets to get XP from Salon Cat, Gunslinger, Freshman Cat Jobs, Amioji, and Thief Cat. Plus all the missions I hadn't collected gave me another 170 cat food. There was also a sale going on, so I got a whole bunch of half-price speed-ups to get me through the next chapter. Plus, cat food for all the new cats that I didn't look at in the dictionary yet. Now it was time to move on to Chapter 2, the Emperor of Darkness. But not before using all that XP to upgrade all my cats to level 10. I made a new loadout with 3 meat shields plus all my best cats, and Moniko, just in case there was metal. I don't know why I thought there would be metal in a chapter with all the same units as the previous chapter. So instead, let's just assume I put her in there because her sprite is the highest quality sprite out of any cat in the game. Okay? All right. And then I was back in Korea destroying stages with my giraffe cat. Then I unlocked Actress Cat, who is 100% worth the cat food. She has sexy legs, but with area attack, making her way, way better. So I upgraded her into Mother Cat, collected my next user rank reward, and then I swapped UFO Cat and Giraffe Cat for Sexy Legs and Mother Cat, because it says that Mother Cat and Sexy Legs pair well together. Mother Cat has a really strong area attack with great range, and as for whether or not she pairs well with Sexy Legs Cat, I'm pretty sure they only mean that visually, since it makes an entire cat, because there is no situation currently where you would want to use her over Sexy Legs Cat. After that, I unlocked Mister, but I didn't really want to go broke, to be honest. From this point on, I pretty much completely switched to just meat shields and Mother Cat. She does the job in like every single situation. I can't say she's a great mother though, considering she hits people with her babies. The only other cat I wanted to use here was Cat Gang because it's obviously a great addition to any loadout. I also unlocked Skirt Cat, which is a variation of Sexy Legs, but it's no Mother Cat, okay? Then when you beat another level, you unlock Panties Cat, who is also not Mother Cat. Many levels later, I arrived at Machu Picchu, and it was actually much easier in Chapter 2 than in Chapter 1. Same thing with the One Horn, but of course I was using a lot of meat shields to counter his attacks. The Teacher Bear was still giving me a little bit of trouble, but my best counter for that was just sending out a Mythical Titan. I did buy another booster sale, but that was mostly just to get enough energy to continue steamrolling Empire of Cats Chapter 2. Which I definitely did, and when I finally arrived at the moon, I decided to put on all of my items before facing the boss of Chapter 2. Now, Chapter 2's moon introduces Dark Emperor Neandum, who's a red enemy, but he's not that big of a deal because of the fact that he also has a really long range, and he doesn't really get that much of an opportunity to push. Plus, I have my sniper on, which knocks him back a little bit. So this stage wasn't really that big of a deal. I mean, there was a One Horn, but that wasn't a big deal because I had my whale cats ready to go. And then all I had to do was press this guy again and again and again and again until eventually he died. So even though my cats were still locked at level 10, I found this chapter easier than the previous chapter. And after I beat it, I unlocked the next chapter, a level cap increase, Valkyrie Cat, and 50 cat food. Valkyrie Cat is the most expensive cat you can get in this game without using rare tickets at this point, and I instantly got her to level 20, but I didn't even use her until the moon. Then I got my cats to level 20, upgraded a few more things, and bought just a little more cat food. I also got 2 user rank rewards, which gave me a treasure radar, 2 cat tickets, and 2 leadership. I got accountant and fish cat from those, and then I went back to the moon just so I could see how much better my cats were at this point. Spoiler alert, they're way better. I also managed to beat my first zombie outbreak, which was a good idea because it gives you 10 cat food. I also made sure to go back to chapter 2 and make sure that every single level had at least a bronze treasure. Then I beat a couple more zombie outbreak stages so I could get the cat food. Then I went back to Korea. So just like when you go from chapter 1 to chapter 2, chapter 3 is more expensive, but there's not really much else to say. The strategy is exactly the same. What I will say is that I did spend many hours making this video, so I hope you're enjoying it, and if you are, I would really appreciate it if you smash the like button. Basically, I once again just use my meat shields and mother and cat gang to roll stage after stage, and when we got to the elephant, even that wasn't that big of a deal. The enemies also get stronger as you go from one chapter to the next, but the fact that I have level 20 units now means that it's not really any harder than it was before. But one thing I did do is take advantage of Dragon Cat a little bit more, considering he actually outranges the bear. He doesn't quite outrange the elephant, but he does tank a hit, which makes him pretty effective. Now, after breezing through chapter 3, I was excited to take on the moon, but man, what a doozy of a level this is. I didn't realize that this level is way harder than any other level in this game so far, like by a long shot. I couldn't even get past the first wave of enemies. I didn't even get the boss to appear. But when I retried the level, I sent out a meat shield to tank the kangaroo hits, and although it did eventually get to the base, I took it out before it was a problem. Now, one good thing about this level is it lets you get all the way to level 8 with your wallet super easily. That's not a problem. You don't need a rich cat for this, but it does take a while to get through all the enemies. And you need to take a lot of health off the base before you can even get the boss to appear. Not that I even wanted to see him. And when I finally activated Bun Bun, he completely destroyed everything. I got like a couple of hits on him. I might have knocked him back once or twice, but man, this was a complete disaster. He has a really strong attack, it's really fast, and it's hard to get anything to even survive long enough to hurt him. Eventually, I just started completely running out of money, and that's when I realized that I was gonna have some serious work to do if I wanted to beat this guy. This was not gonna be a walk in the park like the first 2 chapters. First thing I did was take out Sexy Legs and Monico and Titan because I didn't think they were doing much, and I instead went for more meat shields, things to tank the Bun Bun. Plus, I remembered Valkyrie existed and decided to use her, and I put Executioner in. I also made sure everything in my loadout was at level 20, and then I tried again, which wasn't good. It's just a little tricky at the beginning. If you don't do it right, you end up getting pretty hurt. The second time worked out a little bit better, and now I had a Valkyrie as well. I wasn't that confident this was going to do much more, but I was hoping I could get him down at least a little bit more than I did the first time. Another problem I had was I kept hitting the deploy limit, and that messed up the flow of my meat shields and just opened up all my strong units to get completely destroyed by this guy again. The next thing I wanted to do was get the most useful treasure effects in chapter 3. So I grabbed some treasure radars and I went back to a bunch of levels to get gold treasures. Just doing that alone was enough to make my cats way more effective, and I went back to the moon to try again. I took a rich cat, which made it easier to get past the first part, but it was a complete waste. Don't take a rich cat to this level. It's so easy to get all of your money as long as you survive the first part, which I could do even before I got the treasures. But obviously that was nowhere near enough because he destroyed me again. But I did take off about 20% more health this time. When I came back again, I had at least the silver treasures in each of the levels from chapters 1 and 2 that would actually help me here. And I also took off my speed up so I could really focus on doing a good job. One thing I noticed is that it's a lot easier to get through the first wave of enemies now. However, I still felt like I had some major problems with my loadout that I needed to fix, and I was still hitting the deploy limit, which was messing everything up. It did seem like Bun Bun was having a harder time getting through my units now, but it really didn't seem like it was going to be enough to actually take the guy out. And before I knew it, I was back at the point where I just didn't have enough money to even fight back and the dude killed me again. And just as I was about to accept that I needed to go to chapter 3 and get those treasures as well, I decided to give it one last ditch effort. I removed Giraffe Cat, Cat Gang, and Madame Sumo, and went back to the moon with only 7 units in my loadout. The units I removed were point-blank attackers that were basically instantly dying to Bun Bun and wasting all my money. So without them, I was able to keep my money up, but I still needed to make sure I kept an eye on my deploy limit so I could keep the flow of my meat shields going, which I did manage to do. I just needed Bun Bun to kill a couple of my meat shields at the beginning, and then from there, I was basically just able to press all the buttons as they lit up, which is my favorite way to play Battle Cats. Turn my brain off and just press buttons. Now I had 2 Valkyries who were hitting this guy multiple times, and I had meat shields that were able to tank a whole bunch of his hits so Valkyrie could do more damage. Now obviously he eventually took out my Valkyries, but the beautiful part about this strategy is the fact that I wasn't hitting the deploy limit anymore. I was still able to keep the meat shields coming, and then eventually, once I was able to kill the things that were supporting him, I got enough money to put out a bunch of stuff again. And then I just needed to keep rinsing and repeating and hope that eventually I could do enough damage to actually kill him. And believe me, it took a long time. But during that time, Bun Bun wasn't really moving that much. He was definitely getting closer and closer to my base, and I thought I was gonna lose. But then eventually I was able to kill his support, and that made me enough money to really start pressing him with good damage again. And I was, not expecting to win here. I still thought that I was gonna need to get more treasures, but I really wanted to do this, obviously, and the dragon took him out. I couldn't believe it. There's nothing difficult after you take out the Bun Bun. You just press buttons until you win. And that's what I did. And as a little cherry on top, I got the superior moon without even using a treasure radar. Thank you, Battle Cats. And that is how I took over the world with only normal and special Battle Cats. I also unlocked Bahamut Cat, which is a pretty great cat to unlock considering he never goes out of style at any point during the game. Hands down, most useful cat ever. And because I managed to do it without getting all the treasures, it does make me wonder if maybe I could continue this challenge in the future.